Well, hello everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. On revient tantôt à 11 heures en français. We'll be back in French at 11. I'm going to get right down to it. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. We finally have some sun in Ontario, Southern Ontario. Yay. It's been like 40 days and 40 nights of no sun and understandable at night. But hey, I thought I'd be all a springtimey today. I felt because the sun was out, I needed something nice and bright. So, I'm hoping that everybody's feeling the way that I've been feeling since, you know, we put 2023 away in the back there and hopped on to 2024 because this to me is going to be a perfect year for lots of interesting happenings. And I'm hoping to see people get some jail time out of it. Okay, by the end of the year, I won't tell you who, but I think you already know who, and everybody who's participated in this ridiculous 3 years that should be liable for their actions. So, to move on from that, I have to do some housekeeping, as Rhonda likes to say, and because I always forget about it. But, with the Canadian People's Union, we've moved our website to thecpu.ca. And if you go to thepowershift.ca, you'll still get to us anyway. And everything is still under the Power Shift. And I wanted to clear up that we have CPU paid members that we have created a new community for, and hopefully people will enjoy it and really start to get around it and use it more and get all of the information, because now we no longer put out too much information out in the public sphere other than giving you these little updates and letting you know that, yeah, we're still here. But most of our work remains with our members, our paid members, and the more in-depth education of what we speak to you on here every Saturday. And that will be coming out with a day during the week as well with more information. But the gist of it and the teaching and the explanations and the questions will all be asked by our members in our community. So, we've launched a campaign in order to reach as much as the Canadian population as possible. It's very important that this be done because we're the only true political and civil rights movement of this sort, which includes our power shifters and all of Canadians who signed their Citizens Convention of Consent, which is a living document that can change, that we can add things to it, and it goes along because it takes a long time to be able to reach as many people as humanly possible, to be able to sign their conventions, understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and the thing is we've been robbed from our rights to collective self-determination back in 1982 and even 1931, but 1931 is another issue, but 1982 is pivotal because two referendums were supposed to happen and never happened. And the thing is the Indigenous peoples didn't get theirs, and neither did we. And this is where the government kind of decolonized sort of from the crown, but we still have ties to them through the Commonwealth realm. Okay, not the Commonwealth of Nations, the Commonwealth realm. And there's a huge difference. And this is what, we're going to be explaining more in depth to our members as well in regards to that. There's issues there. So what Pierre Elliott Trudeau did and all of the premiers at the time were guilty of theft, because we had the right to determine what kind of governance we wanted. That was stolen from us. And that's why we exercise every day our international civil and political rights that Canada has signed on to, that is automatically embedded into our Constitution, automatically. And yet in Canada, they've brainwashed all of the, from what I can see, most of the lawyers here in Canada that have not a clue about the international laws and what Canada has really signed on to and what that means. So at the international level, it's important for people to understand that. So with And this is why you need to sign your Citizens Convention of Consent, and you need to get everybody that you know to sign it. And you know, our children 15 years and older can sign this as soon as they go under the employment. They can get their social insurance number to work. So it's pivotal that everybody signs this. So right now, what we've done is we're launching our campaign, and this is because we've been kind of banned online. And I don't know if the colors my colors are changing here, but online on Facebook, we've been thoroughly blocked. And you know, how can I say, how do you call that? Oh, I can't even think of the name. Shadow banned. So, anyways, we're totally shadow banned. We've noticed that our advertising, or even in our own groups, our own private groups, it says information not available in Canada. Okay, we're a Canadian organization, and our information cannot be viewed in this country because we are a civil and political rights, not for profit. So this is going to be issues we're going to have to battle out. But in the meantime, we can still get to the people. So we have a campaign going on our website. If you go to thepowershift.ca, or you can, if you get one of these on your door, you can just scan there and it'll bring you to the website. Okay, so it's in English and in French to reach the people. And when we go and drop either the post office will be dropping these off, or our own members have offered to do so. And we'd like to thank everybody who's volunteered to do their neighborhoods. And this is how we can bring people together in their neighborhoods, because at the international level, there's no such thing as a province. Okay, that does not exist, because Canadians have rights from coast to coast to coast. Okay, and all of our rights are equal. So there should be nothing, no provinces should have different rights or different laws. Okay, none. And this is what's got to change in Canada. And all of the natural resources belong to the people between the Indigenous nations, you know, especially on their own territories, that's theirs, and territories that haven't been ceded yet. We need to get all that cleaned up. The other areas that Canada is, you know, that has natural resources, and you know, selling it to private corporations to make the money off of, when we get a very small percentage back to Canadians. This is how we can change taxation into dividends. Okay, and make this work for the people. And so, anyways, in regards to my how can I say, housekeeping, just in passing, we've had a project. This is a project that I've made actually 17 years ago. Okay, that I created, and this is a healthcare facility with proton therapy to be able to help communities. And it would have a life of its own. It would come back to the communities and to the employees and the people, basically, of communities. So, you know, once we have our power and we become, you know, we would have veto rights over our governments, then, you know, on huge decisions. Well, I'm not saying all of them, but the major decisions we need to make decisions on in regards to what happens in our country, where what we do with our natural resources, how we want to see our future, you know, and what we're okay with and not okay with, then that's our decision. And that's been denied to us since 1982. So we're going on 42 years, actually more than that. So if you, well, 42 years, yeah. So anyways, this is the project. It used to be called Each Santé International Canadian Healthcare Solution. And that Canadian healthcare solution is something that was my baby. And this is a cancer treatment center. And it was an outpatient. It would take like 10 minutes to come in and out and get your treatment. There would be no radiation. The radiation only lasts a minute to a minute and a half during the treatment. It doesn't go anywhere else in the body other than the actual tumors. Children with inoperable brain tumors was what got me interested in this. And also people with prostate cancer, $41,000 US could cure prostate cancer. How many thousands of dollars do we waste in Canada? Because I'll tell you something. The reason why I put this on the back burner and I came to Six Nations and undertook research for the last 15 years was because I saw that my hospital project would not happen. We had investors interested. It almost went. But then I realized that, hey, this isn't going to happen the way that I want, that I'm dreaming of. It's not going to, they're going to stop me from trying to do something decent here because I found out we could not trust um, the medical associations, well, the Canada Health, you know, since 2008, our healthcare system and our food and safety has been totally changed by two political parties, the Conservatives and the Liberals, and those other, the NDP and all the other ones who vote. Okay, and all of them are guilty. And the thing is that healthcare in Canada is a big business. And yet they know about proton therapy since I've brought this up in Canada, and they've known about it since before. Yet, oh, don't tell people that they can get better treatments elsewhere and not be so sick and not have to take chemo and all this because, hey, we're going to lose the money. Okay, long story short, I needed to change things and change things fast. And here I am today on Six Nations territory. And with the research and everything that we found out was actually pretty interesting, and it never stops. It just never ends. So we're here today, 15 years later, 17 years after my hospital project that's been put on the back burner. But these are things that we can implement once we have our power and make these things work for the people. And like I said, this is how we can change taxation eventually into dividends for everybody. Everybody deserves a future. Everybody's an equal shareholder, co-owner of the Crown of Canada. And this is what we're focused on. And until we get those rights, nothing will happen. Okay. So, you can go to, if you want to help us, please go to our website, thecpu.ca, make a donation, register. Memberships are really important right now because what we're doing at the international level and here, because in Canada, it's going to take a lot more than just the Canadian citizens to wake up because we have run out of time. Okay. We've technically run out of time, but there's still time to change our governance in that sense. But trying to get to the people, we're scramming. And because we've been barred at so many places, now we got to go back since Justice Mosley actually opened the door wide open. Because, yes, there are things that the Canadian government cannot derogate on. And this is what I want to talk to you today. Like, the true meaning of collective self-determination is we, the people, have the final say in regards to our future, not a rogue government that's been implanted and as double agents in our government. Number one, Freeland. She should be charged for being sitting on the board of the WEF in order to help change our policies in Canada. That is even worse than what China has done for the elections. Okay. She is worse. Her, Trudeau, and everybody else connected to the WEF. We also have those people implanted in our Supreme Court justice system. Okay, they're everywhere. So we need to get rid of that in order to protect our country. And this is what we do in promoting and why we can speak about the law and things like that. How it affects us is because we always say we are activating our collective political rights with every other constituent in Canada, or every other person, citizen, whatever you want to call yourself. Okay, a human being is a human being, so we need all of the people here in Canada to stand up with us. So, anyways, there's also what Justice Mosley did was, like I said, open a huge door. It's not huge yet, but we gotta widen that wide open. Okay, because that's where our rights are. And when people say we need to get out of the UN, get out of the who? Yeah, maybe. The UN, absolutely not, because right now at the international level, we've got hundreds and hundreds of lawyers working together against different countries to bring in human rights issues, especially with genocide in regards to going after the United States, Canada, the UK, Germany. okay, for crimes of genocide or even against humanity now. Okay. So they're all working together. And the thing is a lot of people are protesting everywhere. These lawyers all get together, and I'm being made privy to a lot of the court cases that have been won in regards to human rights and abuse from police, abuse from the government, overreach, and all of this, where court cases have already been determined. And why? Because at the international level, every country is supposed to have a group of lawyers to assist and to observe over um, protests. Okay, so at the last convoy, there should have already been a group of lawyers there every day, filming, observing everything, and making sure everybody knew their rights, their international law rights, because at the in our constitution, because Canada has signed on to, different um, our different rights, which is our civil and political rights, our civil and our cultural rights, all of these things. There's actually three of them, plus our human rights, international human rights. They form the Bill of Rights, international law. And this is what the countries, and right now, what's happening is they're trying to destroy. And this is what I've seen personally over the years, was that they were going to go after all of our rights worldwide to instill a new world governance system by corporations. Private corporations will be running all of our, and you're seeing this, right? Now you can go to Service Ontario at Staples in Ontario. Okay, now Staples is managing our Service Ontario. Okay, so this is bad. So anyways, we got to get our governance out of, so because technically the government has abdicated their duty to govern by handing this over under public-private partnerships to these private corporations. So we really need to clean things up. So it's really important that people understand this. And this is how we're losing our rights, through stealth. Okay. And they're doing all behind our backs, keeping us busy, keeping us in panic, throwing all kinds of stuff at us. Well, what is the CPU about? Is going to the root cause. If we clean out the root cause and we cut those roots and prevent them from, those bad weeds from growing, we'll have a nice garden. Okay. So we need to weed out those bad weeds and get them right at the root. And the root cause is everything that our politicians sign, everything that our politicians vote on. Every politician that doesn't know that we have international law rights, and that at the international law, international, there's no such thing as a province, because your rights are covered from coast to coast to coast. We're supposed to have the same rights, equality rights. Not one province should have less rights than everybody else. Okay, at least all of the rights that we have at the international level should be there. If they want to give us more rights, that's fine, but not through the provinces. It has to be throughout Canada, and that's how it should be. So what we're planning on doing is making everybody know exactly what your rights are, and making sure that the lawyers know the rights of the people, because they haven't been taught this on purpose in school, in law school. So we're gonna try to place ourselves in a position where that comes out and that is challenged, and on more levels than anything else, because our rights are our rights. And along with the international lawyers everywhere, and the people's working on the same thing to protect those international law rights that our governments has signed on to, including the UK, even though we're still tied to them. As long as both of them, Canada and the UK, both signed on to it, we're safe. Okay, and we're protected, and we have the right to ask other countries to come and help us out. Okay, so because our governments will not do it. If our politicians would turn around tomorrow and decide to honor our civil and political rights, and give us our veto power over government, and not having to make us jump through hoops, because the only rights that we have in Canada is to participate in elections, political parties, or become independents and try to win everybody over with hardly, not even enough money to go around to be able to make it out there. And when you do make it into a political party, they'll tell you. And if the politicians are honest, they'll tell you all about the crap that they're not allowed to speak about. And they have to vote according to the ones who pull their purse strings. Okay. So when we're asking for, we're saying we want Trudeau out, they're just going to replace him with another shill. The whole Liberal Party needs to walk. And then the next party is going to have their all eyes on them. Okay. So it should make for interesting times. Okay. So another thing that I want to talk to you about is because the root cause is our politicians, and our system of governance isn't bad. Okay. What's bad are those who are corrupt inside, and we need to get rid of them. So the only way that we can get rid of them properly is not to elect somebody else to hope that they'll take care of it. We ourselves are the solution. And this is what I'm stressing at the international level, saying to the lawyers, listen, we need the people involved. The only ones who are going to save this is the people by standing up. We all have the right to collective self-determination as many times as we want. And there's nothing, okay, I'm not going to use bad words here, but there's nothing that the government can do once we know our rights, and once they understand that we know our rights, and everywhere at the international level. Now, if the thing is they're trying to make sure if Israel does not back off Palestine, their motto is ignore. So in Canada and the UK, they ignored international law. Everything they signed at the international level, they sat there and laughed at every other country who signed it. So they're laughing at every other country. Oh, we're going to sign it and then be a bunch of hypocrites about it, and we're not going to do it. Okay? And that's their theory. Ignore, ignore, ignore. Well, hey, it's time for the citizens to get off the pot. Not pot. I'm well, that too. Yes, we need to get off the pot, because as far as I'm concerned, that was brought legal to keep everybody asleep and stoned and high and not watching what the hell's going on in our country while they steal it from us. So we need wide awake people, drug-free, with all their faculties, being able to decide the difference between common sense and stupidity. Stop brainwashing people and then turn into the woke generation, brainwashing our children, brainwashing our medical professionals, our legal professionals. There's been so much brainwashing being done, people, it's not even funny. So that's why, that project is still sitting there, because that's a project for use. My hospital project was a project for everybody. It had a life of its own. It would be able to go from community to community and help everybody get better. And together in our governance, then our government funds would pay for that. Okay, and make the people less sick. Bring in stuff that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, in order to make the economy roll and make others very rich by having private clinics and private hospitals. And who's making the money off? Why do they want to keep you sick? All about the money. So most citizens in Canada just want to have a decent life, and that's what we're about. Power shifting to a new type of true democracy. So when you're looking at another thing that I'm just covering different issues here today, okay? The different types of democracy. Oh, we're a constitutional monarchy. So I see out there, we need to become a republic. Well, hey, how's a republic doing for other countries? The United States, number one. Biggest fraud there is. France, republic, another fraud. And funny, both were launched at almost the same time. Now, a republic, you're only changing one dictatorship for another. Okay? One dictatorship for another. There's no difference. What happened in 1982 is we change from the queen or the king no longer has any power. It was given to the prime minister and the queen's privy council and the government itself, okay, and parliament. It wasn't given to the people. Although we can choose, they're saying, but you can choose your new government. BS. Okay, this is what we got by doing this. You want to keep doing that and voting every 4 years for another idiot, another dictatorship, and then have absolutely no rights? If we do not make change this year, everybody worldwide will lose their rights, international law rights. And those are the only ones. Even in the charter, the government can end those at any time they want because they're not listening anymore to their charters. That it's happening in Brazil, it's happening in other countries where even the indigenous have fought tooth and nail for their ancestral rights. What happened in Brazil? The Supreme Court, everywhere worldwide, common sense. Now the government decided they don't care about the courts anymore. They literally spit on the courts and decided to create a law anyway. And the indigenous can only go back to 1988 when they created their charter, which is absolutely ridiculous. They should be ashamed of themselves. Every politician here in Canada that doesn't know the basics of human rights and how our international law rights, our commitments we make at the international level, how the system works and doesn't work, doesn't deserve to be in politics. Not at all. These are people who could be manipulated or don't understand. They're so into their own little thing that they're not seeing what's happening. We've seen for the last 3 years, it's like we're living in the twilight zone. Some people live in this dimension, these others in another dimension, and of consciousness. So if you understand consciousness, then it's easier to see, and we got to get away from that. So between a constitutional monarchy and a republic, no difference. You're changing one dictatorship for another. Okay. So you'll see it. To vote for a new president, come on, okay? To say, oh, we're going to put one person in charge and they can make the decisions. No, not all the decisions. We have to remain, if this is going to be a government by the people, it can't be a fake one like it is now, because the parliamentarians are the one who are considered the public in court. If the government says, oh, it's not in the best interest of the public, you have to ask, which context are you discussing? The Canadian citizens or the parliamentarians? And then, oh, it's the parliamentarians because they get the vote. They are the public in government. They're not talking about you and me. When they're on the news, do you think they're talking to you and me? They're talking to their investors. They're talking to their corporate shills. They're not talking to you and me. The economy is great. For who? Certainly not us. It's time to turn it around. That's why we need a power shift. The power shift to freedom. You can't just go in front of Parliament and yell, freedom! That's an oxymoron. Yeah, you want freedom, but say why and how you intend to get it and what you're going to do after with it. Because people won't support you. They'll support you for a bit, but you better have answers. And you better know your rights. But simply screaming freedom, you're outside, you're free, you're not in shackles. Got bombs on your head? No. Instead, they place bombs in everybody's arms. Try to fight that one when the public health is all supporting it. It's like they're all on a different planet than we are. And then they'll turn everything around to make it sound good for all of those who are just watching the TVs, to vote for them and to have faith in the government and follow a narrative. That's all BS. Okay. So, anyways, I have to watch the clock, people. Okay. And I'm seeing what some of you are saying. And the thing is you have to know the difference between a constitutional monarchy, a republic, okay, constitutional republic, and what's open there here for people. Because what they did when they gave us our rights, they said everybody has the right, because after the war, okay, countries were going back to the people. And they said you have the right to decolonization and self-determination and, rebuild your countries. But what they did is, when you're looking at self-determination of 1960, they made the colonizers monitor the decolonizing of the countries they colonized. I mean, isn't that so stupid? You're going to allow perpetrators to assist the people to become independent, self-sustaining, while you're stealing their natural resources? And, you're going to do the good job by the people. Bullshit. I'm going to say this word, bullshit. Okay? I mean, there's so much of it. It's not even funny. I mean, you can't even put 50 farms together, gather all the cows and put it together. Parliament's BS and what's going on worldwide that these maniacs have done in politics. Have done to the people. Now, I'm screaming at the international level. Well, everybody has the right to self-determination as many times as we want. Nowhere does it say in the law, it says that we get back our natural resources. It belongs to us. Well, the governments took them over. It says that we have to have a government, but nowhere does it say that the government is above the people making the final decisions. That's a crock of BS. Okay? And that's what I'm fighting so hard for at the international level, because it has to be changed as well in other countries. We're not alone here. A lot of them are fighting for our international law rights because it's the only damn rights we have in Canada that protects us. And we got to bring that. But I can't do it alone. We need all of you to help us with this. You need to stand up, not just sign the Convention of Consent and walk away and say, well, I signed it 2 or 3 years ago. You need to go and get other people. You need to go and get people in your communities. You want to, be angry over 15-minute cities and whatnot, and then your taxes and everything that's going up. You better start knocking on your neighbors' doors. And it's not about, going to City Hall and scream freedom. No. Resign, or we want a better governance. We want our rights. Even if Trudeau would resign tomorrow or today, what do you think is going to happen? The other government's going to, tiptoe for a little while, but they're still part of the freaking problem. Check the votes in Parliament. Everything that's happened to us. Of course, the opposition will vote many times, to say, well, we vote against this because we're standing for the people. But then when they become in power, it's like the same BS all over again. Smoke and mirrors. We need independence in government, not political parties. What kind of governance do Canadian citizens need? Constitutional popular democracy. That is such a thing, but nobody's implementing it. They talk about it. Oh, put it out there, put it out there. Do you know that the UK has more referendums than we do? We got 2, went nowhere. And then the government, instead of giving us a referendum and letting the people choose, Mulroney behind closed doors, conservatives, Stephen Harper, same effing puppets, same BS. They're all gaslighting us. And it's time it ends. And we have that power. You, me, everybody together. Other groups are trying all kinds of different things. What we ask the other groups for, and it's great because it's not it because it's too time consuming to try and fix everything. We focus on the root cause, the issues, our rights to non-derogation. The government could not derogate from our right to freedom of expression, amongst other ones. Okay. So I've got a screen share here for you, and hopefully I'll be able to find it here. I'm just going to make sure that because I have to make sure that I don't run out of time, because I've got the French one at 11. Where is that? Here. And it should, yeah, here it is. And I'm going to go back here. We're good to go. And screen share. Oh, yeah, this one. Yep. Okay. There we go. I hope you can all see this, because I kind of just lost. Okay, this is a document that I sent out to all the lawyers that were present. Whether their emails got to them or not, I don't know, but I never heard back from them. And here is on the rights, what the government cannot derogate from. Okay, especially during this here. Okay, I'm not going to say the word, but statement on derogations from the covenant in connection with this. Okay, so what happened is Canada broke this law at the international level. Okay, a number of state parties to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights have in recent weeks notified the Secretary General, pursuant to Article 4 of the Covenant, of emergency measures they have taken or are planning to take with a view to curb the spread of the V, or the C word, in derogation from their obligations under covenant. So when there was a big emergency or something like this, there's some rights that the governments can derogate from, but not all of the rights. Okay, not all of our rights. So this is really important. Okay, so first of all, Canada did not file at the international level. And this is what it says, what they have to do. And, they printed this back the 30th of April, 2020. They already, the Canada got this paper, but didn't abide by it. Totally ignored it. So now here it says the committee wishes nonetheless to remind state parties of the requirements and conditions laid down in Article 4 of the Covenant and explained by the committee in its general comments, particularly in general comment number 29 on states of emergency, in which it provided guidance on the following aspects of derogation: the official proclamation of a state of emergency, formal notification to the Secretary General, the strict necessity and proportionality of any derogating measure taken, the conformity of measures taken with other international obligations, non-discrimination, and the prohibition on derogating from certain non-derogable rights. In particular, states parties must observe the following requirements and conditions when experiencing emergency powers in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. Where measures derogating from the obligations of state parties under the covenant are taken, the provisions derogated from and the reasons for the derogations must be communicated immediately to the other state parties through the Secretary General. So now we're going to go a little bit lower. Okay. And then here, whoops, a little too high. And I remember doing a video on this exact same thing during the convoy. Now, number C here, state parties should not derogate from covenant rights or rely on a derogation made which they are able to attain their public health or other public policy objectives by invoking the possibility of to restrict certain rights, such as Article 12. They could not derogate from freedom of movement, which is to go across the country. Article 19, freedom of expression, which is what Justice Mosley did. He focused on that one, but there's all of these other ones. Or Article 21, right to peaceful assembly in conformity with the provisions for such restrictions set out in the covenant or by invoking the possibility of introducing reasonable limitations on certain rights, such as Articles 9, right to personal liberty, and Article 17, right to privacy, in accordance with their provisions. Okay. State parties, okay, may not resort to emergency powers or implement derogating measures in a manner that is discriminatory or that violates other obligations that they have undertaken under international law, including under other international human rights treaties, excuse me, from which no derogation is allowed, even in emergencies or war. Nor can state parties deviate from the non-derogable provisions of the covenant. Article 6, right to life. Article 7, prohibition of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, or of medical or scientific experimentation without consent. The last 3 years, what this government has done should have them locked behind bars because they did it with criminal intent. They can't claim negligence by not, or like, I had actually accused them of, at first to be nice, involuntary manslaughter. But no, it was very voluntary. Okay. What they did and what they've been doing. So, where am I here? Okay. Scientific experimentation without consent. Article 8, paragraphs 1 and 2, prohibition of slavery, the slave trade, and servitude. Article 11, prohibition of imprisonment because of inability to fulfill a contractual obligation. Article 15, principle of legality in the field of criminal law. Article 16, recognition of everyone as a person before the law. And Article 18, freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, or from other rights that are essential for upholding the non-derogable rights found in the aforementioned provisions and for ensuring respect for the rule of law and the principle of legality, even in times of public emergency, including the right to access courts, due process guarantees, and the right of victims to obtain an effective remedy. I gave this to the government after the convoy. Well, I mean, during and then again after the convoy when we went to Ottawa. And this is what needs to happen. Freedom of expression and access to information, and a civic space where a public debate can be held. Okay, so this is what here it says. I'm just going to read from here. Nor can state parties tolerate. Well, furthermore, state parties may not derogate from their duty to treat all persons, including persons deprived of their liberty, with humanity and respect for their human dignity, and must pay special attention to the adequacy of health conditions and health services in places of incarceration, and also to the rights of individuals in situations of confinement, and to be aggravated to the aggravated threat of domestic violence arising in such situations. Nor can state parties tolerate, even in situations of emergency, the advocacy of national, racial, or religious hatred that would constitute incitement to discrimination, hostility, or violence, and they must take steps to ensure that public discourse in connection with the C word does not constitute advocacy or incitement against specific marginalized or vulnerable groups, the UNVED, okay, including minorities and foreign nationals. Freedom of expression and access to information and civic space where a public debate can be held constitute important safeguards for ensuring that state parties resorting to emergency powers in connection with the C word comply with their obligations under the covenant. And I kept saying, they could stay. They could, if they focus on this and fix some of the issues that the people of Ottawa have, even to its minute part, they had the right to stay. So Canada, Ontario, and the city of Ottawa, the police, everybody involved in this went against all of these rights. And it was criminal intent because the Canadian government cannot say it doesn't know about this. The provinces can't say they don't know about this. And neither do the cities, because whoever did teach this is responsible for all of the other ones. And they're all guilty as sin and could be charged. if we had a legal, a true democracy in Canada, and a, not bought and paid for judges. Thank goodness for Justice Mosley. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm just going to try and find my way here. So that is huge, people. Okay. That is very, very huge. So here I'm going to stop share screen. Okay. Now it is 10:47. I have to get to the other meeting. And, we need to get together. We can make change happen. We can't do it alone. This is why we're at the international level and also here. So you're going to hear more from us. And if you want a little bit more in-depth knowledge and access, please join the CPU at the cpu.ca. You can have a standard or VIP membership. And then we also have a sections for businesses, because businesses could be sued. And, we need to protect everybody. So we need the businesses to turn around and go after the government for forcing them to break the human rights of Canadian citizens, while their employees and their clients. Okay. No private corporation policy can override our human rights. The World Health Organization is not allowed to override human health, or human rights, and it stays it in there. So everybody who is afraid of what's coming down with the WHO, I found out by the international that they had to, in order for this to fly, the preamble is about protecting all of our and honoring our human rights. Okay, our Bill of Human Rights, above anything that would go into that document. So technically, as long as we fight for international human rights with the other lawyers worldwide and here in Canada, that we enforce that by getting together under the CPU, we can keep this going. We can make sure that nothing harms us, because as long as we don't have final decision-making authority, we will never be free. We were never freed. The Canadian government is independent, not the people. It's time for the people to get our true independence. So please join us at the cpu.ca. Tell everybody about it. If you see these our door hangers on your door, please read it. Please go and sign your Citizen Convention of Consent and join the CPU or make a donation, whatever. But we need all of your help. We can't do this by ourselves. Things cost a lot of money. We are not, we don't get any incentives from the government. And we're all feeding this with donations and including a loan. So, or things like that. So, other than getting loans, we're not going to make it out of this. And how are we going to pay that back? So, we don't need to do that. We need to be able to move forward, raise the funds. Every Canadian citizen has a responsibility. You want your rights, you need to do the work. Freedom is not free. Okay, it takes a lot. So thank you, and everybody who's helped us in every which way, every aspect. Thank you. Now we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. 2024 can be huge as long as we don't allow international human rights laws to be ignored, not even by Israel, Canada, the UK, and the United States, and Germany, or any other country. Okay, Brazil as well. So we need to stand strong within our rights and to say, hey, we're going to uphold our rights a lot more than we're going to support politicians. Your first thing you need to do is to support your human rights, and before you support a politician, that will only gaslight us, because they have all kinds of aspirations, and when they actually get down in there, there's tons they can't do. Okay, either by their own ignorance or no knowledge, we don't care. But the next politicians that need to go into parliament need to know all of the rights, what it takes to run a government, at least the basics. Some of them don't even know. Okay, so the powershift.ca, we continuously activate our civil and political rights to discuss with every Canadian citizen, every person in Canada, every person worldwide, in regards to strategies, laws, the rule of law, and the ignorance of our systems in regards to respecting the citizens. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. And I'll leave you with this.